3, 2, 1. We're live. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. This is so exciting. If this is your first time meeting me, my name is 𝗲𝗲𝗀. I am a personal trainer, a transformational coach, and an energy healer. My signature program is called the PHAT Life, and it stands for Process, Heal, Align, and Transcend. You can join the gamified community for $49 a month, where you win a monthly coaching call. You can do the community coaching, where you get everything in the gamified community plus a weekly coaching call with me, or you can do private, where you get everything in levels 1 and 2, and you have me in Telegram Tuesdays through Friday, and you get 2 calls a week, 2 calls a month with me, which can be used as a personal training session, or if you want to talk about the inner work. So before we get started, this is the remainder of my apple fritter that I bought on Wednesday. So as you know, I am the queen of moderation, where I eat a little bit of junk every single day. And so I just wanted to show you about that. And I wanted to say congratulations. Today is day 376 until we have the great cosmic mother returning. There is an astrological event that is going to change civilization. So if you are concerned about what's happening in America with our current political leader, newsflash, all the shit that you're upset about was gonna happen anyway in a certain form, because the next iteration of society is the age of Aquarius, where we either lose our humanity and we become a cyborg, as in Star Trek, or we rebalance with the feminine energy of the mother of our humanity, and we get to individuate from the political structures that we currently have, and we decentralize the government, because as you can see, they are working on a central government that is all out in the open, where for most of the iterations of society leading up until this conjunction on February 26th of 2026, the world order has just been under the rug, but it's always been operating. It's just now we can see it because we have technology and social media for us to talk about it worldwide. So 376 days to get in your body to save humanity, okay? We got some work to do. And that is why I'm so excited to share this live stream with you. I was watching, it took me 2 days to watch the full moon report from 𝗂𝗋𝗋, the cosmic space witch. And I was like, no wonder I took a turn, because where Saturn was moving in the sky, it was moving through Pisces, and my sun sign is Pisces. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? That I want to talk about the patriarchy? Why am I upset? It's because Saturn gives us structure and discipline, and can make us feel restricted. And being in the Pisces sign, this is the entire energy of the zodiac, and this is the unconscious. And our north node for everyone, for the entire world, is in Pisces right now. We are, as a collective, going into the collective unconscious, which is part of the reason why we see so many people voicing opinions about what is wrong with our political system. Congratulations. Good job. Everybody's doing their part. We do not want AI to take over. We can use AI to our benefit, because it is going to be part of our reality no matter what. And if you're on your phone, you're using AI anyway, so you might as well figure out how to embrace it and not lose our humanity. With that being said, this live stream is about power, presence, and freedom. So I am going to give you 3 actionable steps that you can do today. Number 1, eating less, working out harder, and staying disciplined. We've been conditioned to think that's how we're going to feel at home in our body. We're going to talk about that and how you can decondition it. We're going to talk about how we have been programmed to believe that our body is the enemy, especially as a woman. We'll talk about how to decondition that, and then that there is something innately wrong with us, and we will talk about that as well. So first of all, what I want to share with you is that the way we do things in the PHAT life is that we are not doing anything to shrink ourselves. We are not cutting calories to get smaller. We're not working out to be smaller. We are working out and changing our eating habits so that we can feel as hot and magnetic as possible. The phone's ringing, so now I have to lower my voice and not be so excited. So lean in and turn your headphones up. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to share with you 3 actionable steps that you can take today. So first of all, Most of us have been conditioned to believe that eating less, working out harder, and staying disciplined is how we're going to feel at home with our body. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit about the mindset and the emotions plus the nervous system, because it's the mindset, the emotions, and the actual physiology of our nervous system that is causing us to keep ghosting the habits necessary for our dream body, or sabotaging them, completely undoing the progress. So when we actually start with this overarching concept, right, I'm just sharing 3 actionable items with you today, that we have been programmed to believe eating less, working harder, and staying disciplined is the way back home. And so I want to introduce to you this concept of home being in our body. Because before we had the political structures that we have today, in the Neolithic age and possibly even the Stone Age, which might be the same thing, just different words, we had a matriarchal society where there wasn't a nuclear family, where men had roles as father, even without it being a biological offspring. And children, babies, were strapped to their mothers for the first year of life. And then as they got older, they were reared, they were raised up by the entire community. So there was never a sense of other. Everybody was the home, and there was an exchange with Mother Earth of taking resources, right? Because we are a species that stays alive by destroying other species. And so back in the day, long, long time ago, before the structures that are in activity today, before they came into power, we actually had rituals where we gave back to the earth so that we had balance, and we are lacking that in our modern world. So my point is that because we had the structure that came about force and taking and changing from ritualistic expression of gratitude and giving back, it became sacrifice. And so when we have this mentality ingrained in us, then it goes in from overall humanity's culture, then it goes into all the subcultures. So then how it shows up with the eating and the exercise is that the marketing tells us we should just eat less and move more, and that's how we're going to lose weight. And then all of the marketing programs, whether it's diet, well, not diet pills, because the diet pills are like, you don't need to do anything, just take this pill. But when we're looking at a lot of like leadership roles in the fitness community, a lot of it is shaming people into having results. And that is kind of like the overarching structure of our society. And that's just not going to work long term. So when we're looking at this of eat less, move more, stay super disciplined, it's going to give us this sense of home. What I mean by that is because we have that fantasy of the dream body, the fantasy of the dream body of what we think that we're going to experience, how good we're going to feel, all of the amazing things that are going to happen in our life in that dream body, and then all the current problems that are no longer going to bother us, because why would somebody that beautiful and fit have a problem in the world? That is the mindset that we have when we're fantasizing about this dream body. But the very interesting and very profound and amazing and wonderful thing about this fantasy is that the emotions of the fantasy of your dream body are the same emotions that we have as children when we feel a disconnection from the caregivers. So as I've shared with you before, and as I told you about in this live stream, I was going to talk about the mindset, the emotions, and the nervous system. So if the nervous system is wanting to connect with another nervous system to know that it is safe, because connection means survival for us. So if we don't have the sense of connection with the people taking care of us when we're kids, what the nervous system and what the primal function of the brain says is death is coming. So that's actually what we're dealing with when we have separation from our caregivers, or we have emotional separation where they're not able to soothe whatever it is that we need emotionally to help us process whatever it is that just came up for us. And I'm talking about these ages of 0 to 7. So then what happens is if we are isolated within our own body, our own nervous system, and we are not feeling connected to our caregivers, then us in a very limited experience of life go into fantasy. And then we make the imaginary friend, and then we connect with our toys and all these things. And then what ends up happening is we have an emotional state that we create, a mind-body connection of the fantasy to help soothe ourselves when we are feeling dysregulated from the disconnection. So the emotions that we have as children to feel better when we are dysregulated and disconnected are the same emotions of the dream body. And it makes sense because if we don't have a context for life when we're in 0 to 7, it makes sense that we create the emotional experience within our body all on our own by our thoughts, by our fantasy, our imagination. And then when we are adult women and we figure out that how we look, how we talk, our personality, what we do, how we produce is going to give us a sense of completion and connection, primarily with a mate. So we have the fantasy of what our body is going to give us as an adult, and it's the same emotional substance as the one that we created in these ages 0 to 7. So because we have this fantasy, we have this emotional state of expectation, but then we have the conditioning in our mindset that says, if you want to look this way, you must eat less, work out more, and stay extremely disciplined. There is no room for you to have any emotional processing. So what happens is you're faced with life. Life is stressful. The world is super stressful right now because we're in a shift of civilization. And then we put on a diet program, we put on an exercise program, and we have no space to deal with our emotions. And so then that's why when we get into overload, that's when we ghost. We're like, oh, we'll just skip the workout. That's when we sabotage. That's when we need to consume a whole bunch of calories to try to recalibrate to feel better because we're so stressed. So this concept of if I do exercise more and eat less and stay super disciplined, then I will have this body. But it doesn't work because the mind-body connection is already programmed to search for fantasy, and then the mindset is conditioned for suffering and separation and proving and avoiding rejection and avoiding shame. So that's why it's not working for us. I'm going to give you solutions after I go through the 3 points of what I'm sharing with you of what we need to decondition out of ourselves. So number 2, the body is the enemy. And so this is going to go back to the feminine versus masculine energy. And what I want to share with you about this is that I'm not saying I don't like men. I am processing my feelings around this context. I'm doing my own inner work about this of what I have been discovering with this energy. But what I want to say is that when the matriarchy, right, when we had child rearing in groups, when the men played several roles of father, even though it wasn't a biological child, when the community was based on we are all together, there is no separation, there is no competition, we do this together and we do this with the earth where we actually live. We are not going to shit in the same place that we eat. That was the society. And so when it changed to the patriarchal society of conquest and becoming, we had several things happen. And one of them was the ritual of the female body, the reverence that used to be about the female body and the menstrual cycle, that society was actually built around the menstrual cycle. And when a woman bled because she wasn't pregnant, that blood was put back into the earth as a giving back of nutrients that are not used. But when the patriarchy happened, then the female body became dirty, unclean, and so did menstruation. And then that's when blood sacrifice of animals or of people started to become part of society. So we have long ingrained, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years have been ingrained in humans on a cellular level that the female body is unclean. And so when we really, especially because this is a time of great change, like I don't know if this is something that I would have, been saying in 2000, right? Because we're leading up to this conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Aries at 0 degrees, where when I've looked at the other times Saturn and Neptune have had a conjunction, whether it was Aries or whether it was in Capricorn, society shifted. how the patriarchy ruled the world shifted. So for us in 2026, the new system is going to be AI, ruled by algorithms. And so the reason why I'm like going so deep with this is because if we're in a shift of humanity and we are a human in humanity, this is why this work is so important for us to get into our bodies so that we keep our humanity for the next iteration of society. The last time that we had this conjunction, it was in, I think it was 1966. And what it was the woman going to work. So we had this huge feminist movement for women to be able to be in society again, but it was not in a way that was really in a balanced way, right? Women got paid less, still do, lots of sexual harassment, lots of you you gotta fuck, you gotta suck, so that you can get a promotion, so that you can even get a seat at the table. Like we had this energy come, but it was still ruled by the patriarchy. And it's probably still going to be ruled by it into a certain degree. But since we are going into the age of technology where this is humanity versus a computer, we have a little bit more at stake, and it's really going to affect everybody. It's not going to be a gender thing. So when we look at this from this perspective, that our body is not the enemy, we don't have to inject it with things. We don't have to get facelifts. We don't have to get liposuction. We don't have to take a pill to not have a period. We don't have to do any of these things because our body is not the enemy. We have been conditioned on a cellular level from a very, very long time to believe that it is. The third and final thing is that there is something wrong with us. So this is another really interesting concept because there's a book called, I've only read references to it. I haven't been able to read it yet, but it's called The White Goddess. And it's about the European goddess worship in Europe, like above the equator. And it has to do with the original mythology that when the time of the Greeks came along, all of the spiritual texts that were matter of fact of this is how we live in the feminine energy of being connected to God the creator as feminine, as woman, because it is through a female body that life regenerates itself. When the time shifted into like the Greek time as we know it, all of the actual this is how society functions texts got turned into mythology as a way for us to look at this premature, infantile way to look at the experience of life, but it was actually all real documentation. And so when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind because this really puts into use the Lilith placement of where we think outside the box and where we are shamed. It puts in our Medusa placement. So Medusa was actually raped. And instead of her being seen as the victim, she was seen as the problem. And that's when she got turned into the snakeheads. And that's when men would look at her, they would turn to stone. She was the victim. And we see this so often with women who have been sexually assaulted. Somehow it's their fault. So I'm sharing this with you because we also have this ingrained belief, because part of the patriarchy in one of the conjunctions that we're going to have in February made the church, made the Christian church in 1524, where when we had us as women, when the matriarchal societies had our spiritual books, our temples, all of that was destroyed to make way for a male external deity that we had to perform to connect with. So when we're really looking at this as such a huge expansive level for the purposes of this shift in civilization that we're experiencing, we really need to know that the way that we have been perceived, even within ourselves, in relating to God, into relating to a belief in what creation is, we have been conditioned to believe that we are the evil sinners. We see this even in the story of Adam and Eve. So this is big stuff that's happening on a cellular level. And it's such a big deal for us to talk about this right now because we're in the North Node of Pisces. We are in the collective world shadow of the entire, all civilizations. every iteration of time, we are going into the shadow. So you know how hard it is for you to go into your shadow and do your inner work to stop sabotage and stop projecting and stop creating nightmares in your life. So we're doing this as a collective. And the more we can get into our inner work and look at this as piecemeal of emotions, that we look out in the world and we look at what's happening in all areas, government, politics, finance, religion, immigration, migration. We have great migrations happening right now of people moving all over the world. When we look at that and we say, I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel bad, I feel whatever it is, those emotions can only be experienced if they're already in you. You know that when you do your inner work around projections, when you're dealing with interpersonal relationships. So if we start to actually look at what's going on in society and we relate it on an emotional level, just matter of fact, sad, angry, disappointed, scared, then we can actually move through the collective unconscious together, and we can individuate from the former power structures, and we can get back into our bodies so that we keep our humanity as AI gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So here's how we're going to decondition it, right? So here's your 3 topics, and we're 20 minutes in, and I want to share with you how you're going to decondition it. Number 1, you have to do breath work. If you slow down your breath to 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, you're telling the physical heart that there is no threat. When the physical heart knows that there is no threat, then the energetic signal from your heart shifts. And with that energetic electromagnetic signal shifting, your brain can go into theta, which is the God zone, which is the download only phase of the ages 4 to 7. Ages 0 to 3, our brain waves are even slower. And so that's even more absorbent of just taking in whatever experience that brain is around as fact and identity. So when we're in this state with brain and heart coherency breathing, you only need to do it 3 minutes a day. It's from Heart Math Institute. They measure the frequencies of the planet. They measure the frequencies of groups of people who do brain and heart coherency breathing together. They measure the frequencies of individuals. They have got it down. So when we're in this state of inhaling for 5 seconds and exhaling for 5 seconds, we imagine something that would make us feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness, or care from the outside in. And what happens, your heart will generate that signal. So your electromagnetic field is going to change to vibration. Your brain is going to think in that way because you're already using your brain to imagine something that would make you feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness, or care. Because you're changing your electromagnetic signal, you will start to magnetize and create experiences in your life that will bring you love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. Sometimes you will manifest the imagination. Sometimes you will just manifest the experience, the emotional experience. You always want to thank yourself first before you start the brain and heart coherency breathing, because that is part of you getting into your body and really like confirming the fact that you are the creator of your reality. You are perfectly endowed with everything that you need. You have a brain, you have your heart, and you have your lungs. That slow breathing is what is going to slow down the rhythm of your heart so that your heart can shift gears from being functional for blood to electromagnetic for your reality. The second thing that you're going to do is be aware of where you want to work really hard, where you want to deprive yourself, and then where you feel that things have to be in a rigid place. Just these 2 things, the breath work, being aware of where you work too hard, where you deprive yourself, and then where you have everything super rigid, because that's going to give you some insight to what mind-body storage you have, what mindsets you have, how you've been conditioned, and how your emotional state, how you emotionally respond or react to that conditioning. And you can do this really easily by looking in the mirror, especially if you're naked or if you put on an outfit that you don't like the way it looks on you. because that will trigger you to judge yourself, shame, and reject yourself even more. So it'll be a faster way for you to access these emotions. So when you do these things where you are observing where you deprive yourself, where you overwork yourself, and where you have strict, rigid rules, when you're doing that, when you have that as your template, and then you have your brain and heart coherency breathing, because there is such a massive contrast in the emotions: love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care, shame, rejection, you're ugly, you're fat, you're worthless, you're not good enough, you're too much, you weigh too much. That contrast is going to be so prevalent. And what's really cool about this too is that this kind of matches where we are in the north and south node. So if we're in the collective unconscious and we are going to do brain and heart coherency breathing, we're actually changing the energy, which is always operating on an unconscious level. When we're looking at where we deprive ourselves, where we work too hard, and where we have a rigid discipline, that's part of the Virgo energy gone wrong. Virgo is where we are in our south node, where we get to release perfectionism. So you're actually perfectly primed right now to do this inner work because of where we have the nodes are, because of where civilization is going, because you are a woman. And when you apply this mindset to how you want to look with your aesthetic transformation, you have so much more incentive to stick with the habits, because you're really knowing that this is like so much bigger. This is so much bigger than just you as an individual. And so when you really start to comprehend that we're using the current astrological transits, we're using what we're triggered by in the collective. We are all like, I think a lot of us, like when I look at social media, I feel like a lot of us are on the same page that AI is the thing that we really need to worry about. So if AI is artificial and we are the organic being, it's really important for us to get back into our bodies and create that safety and sense of home within ourselves, because we don't know what is going to happen this year with how everything is going to shake out with how the energy is shifting. This is really good. So if you want to do this together, you have 3 ways, like I mentioned in the beginning. So $49 for the gamified, where you have all of the trainings that you need to do this work. And the more you interact with the platform, the more chances you have to win one of the weekly group coaching calls in the community container. So you can come to one of those a month, and then the leaderboard drops down to 0 every single month. So it's easy for you to come in if people have already won. Like, don't feel like you're behind. The second way is the community coaching, where you get everything in the gamified, but then we all get together once a week. Then if you want to do the private coaching, we are going to, you get to come to everything in level 1 and level 2. But then you also get 2 coaching calls a month, and you and I are in Telegram together Tuesdays through Fridays. So if you are interested and you're on Facebook, go to my pinned post. If you are on Instagram, go to my highlight reels. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to the description. Bye.